Today I'm going to share with you a couple things from a religious perspective. I'm sure you are aware that religious communities can use Bible passages out of context to condone or even ignore abusive relationships. You've probably heard people quote Ephesians 5 and verse 23, which says, the husbands are the head of the wife. Then again in Matthew 19 verse 6, what God has joined together, let no one put asunder. And the list goes on. 1 Corinthians 14 and verse 34, let your women learn to keep silent in the church. More than that, Ephesians 5 and verse 24, this is the favorite of many. It says this, therefore, as the church is subject unto Christ, so let the wives be to their own husbands in everything. People use these passages over and over to suggest subjugation, minimize the value, the ministry, the work of their spouses and women generally. How about this? Ephesians 5:22 says, wives, submit yourselves unto your own husbands. 1 Corinthians 7:4, the wife hath not power over her own body, as if the husband is Lord and God of the lady. And then 1 Timothy chapter 2 and verse 11, let the women learn to be in silence in all subjection. And then, you know the Genesis passage, Genesis 3 and verse 16. And thy desire, talking to Eve, and thy desire shall be to thy husband, and he shall rule over thee. Friends, the list goes on. These passages, however, do not support any type of domestic violence or abuse. In fact, you can make the Bible say almost anything. An example of which we've read already many times about Judas, one of the disciples of Christ. The Bible tells us in Matthew 27 about Judas in verse 5. The Bible lets us know. It says here that he cast down the pieces of silver. He departed and went out and hanged himself. Now, friends, that's in the Bible. After reading it, you would think that that is something almost anybody could do. And verily, if you ask the question, what should we do today if we deny Christ, and then give the passage, Luke 10 and verse 37, it says, go and do likewise. Does the Bible really suggest that because a person has denied Christ, that they should go and commit suicide? The answer really is in sound biblical interpretation principles. These principles, my friends, I would suggest would help you to come to conclusions that reflect the mind of God. And so then, we believe that if you study the Bible with sound biblical interpretation, you will be able to do three things. Number one, you will reflect the mind and heart of God. These passages that we've read do not reflect the mind and the heart of God. Can you imagine God operating like that, giving that type of authority to any one person? Number two, sound biblical principles of interpretation would suggest that the aim or the goal should be none other than that which reflects the pre-sin condition of our world. You see, many of us are using methodologies that came into existence to deal with given situations. We need to go back to what God originally intended when He created Adam and Eve and reflect that in our relationships. The Bible plainly tells us in Genesis, and I'll read it for you. Genesis chapter 1 and verse 27 and 8. So God created man in his own image. In the image of God created he, male and female created he them. And God blessed them. And God, notice, said unto them, be fruitful and multiply and have dominion. Notice, God gave both Adam and Eve dominion. God equipped both of them with blessings to do the task that was at hand. We're suggesting that sound biblical principles of interpretation would bring us to the place where we're reflecting the mind and the character of Christ. It would have as its aim to work towards a pre-sin condition. And then 3, we need to practice what it's going to be like in heaven or in the earth made new. When we do that, we will see each other has equal value and worth. So, if we keep those 3 points in mind, what are they? Reflect the mind and heart of Christ. Number 2, reflect the overall goal or aim of God, and that is to work towards the pre-sin condition model. And then 3, to practice that what it will be like in heaven or in the earth made new. If we do that, if we follow these principles of interpretation, we'll see that both men and women are of equal value and worth to God. We will see that each person is expected to minister in accordance with the gifts that the Holy Spirit has given them. And then we will be able to reflect or mirror Genesis chapter 1 and verse 26, where both men and women are of equal worth, they're made in the image of God, and they have mutual dominion over this earth. Having said that then, what pain and confusion arises out of what is happening in the domestic violence and abuse system today?